Some say sampling is cheating. I say sampling is one of the cornerstones and pillars of hip-hop music. What's up, guys? Barry here, and if it's your first time to the channel, we talk about hip-hop, beat making, and general music production. So if that's your thing, I invite you to subscribe to the channel. With that said, in today's video, we're going to talk all about the sample. More specifically, the sample for the use of hip-hop and boom bap. So the first step to sampling is to actually find your sample. But where do I go to find fire samples? Honestly, you can find samples from anywhere and anything. You can sample records from a Salvation Army or a thrift store. You can sample cassettes from your parents' old collection, or even random CDs that you find lying around the house. And if sampling records, cassettes, and CDs are out of your means, you can always head online. There's tons of resources and websites such as Tracklib, which is practically a curated website for the modern day sample-based beatmaker. And if all else fails, you can jump into the sampling black hole that is YouTube. All you have to do is type in hip-hop sample, soul sample, Brazilian jazz sample, or even 80s anime sample, and I guarantee you a playlist with fire samples will pop up. In my experience, finding the sample is the hardest part. But once you do, you already know how you want to flip it in your head. So with that said, let's jump into Maschine and flip some samples. So here's our first sample. Before anything else, you want to ensure your polyphony is set to 1. If not, it'll overlap like this. Setting the polyphony to 1 will eliminate the overlap. At this point, I adjust the tune. Just keep in mind when using Maschine sampler, tune adjusts pitch and tempo. From there, I jump into Maschine sample editor, scan through the song to see what parts of the song I actually want to sample. Alright, cool. So I really like this part. Let's zoom in and find the starting point. With a start set, let's find the endpoint of our loop. Alright, so that is our 8-bar loop, and similar to finding our starting point, let's zoom in and see if we can set our end point. With your start and end point set, you can go ahead and chop the sample up into smaller pieces. But honestly, it's such a strong loop that I want to leave it the way it is. So I changed from a sampler to an audio engine so I can time stretch it and find a good tempo for this project and beat. When we were counting out the loop, we counted out 8 bars, and by looking at the audio module, it looks like there's something wrong. So let's give the sample a listen to see what's going on. So that's definitely no longer an 8-bar loop. And looking at the source tempo, it's definitely not 157 beats per minute. So let's type in 75 and see what happens. Alright, so we know that the bright orange represents the full 8-bar loop. We can click on the source tempo, we'll drag it up to where it gets to the end of the 8th bar. So we see that the loop is between 91 and 92. So let's type in 91.5 and give it a listen. So you're probably asking, why is it so fast? And that's because in the sampler engine, we said that tune dictates pitch and tempo, whereas in the audio engine, tune only dictates pitch, whereas the tempo of the project dictates the tempo of the loop. Alright, so 80 BPM is a good tempo, but it does stutter a bit when it loops back to the beginning. So if you go into your keyboard mode, you get a zoomed in view of your waveform, and we can see that it overlaps just a bit. So let's adjust our source tempo just a hair. Let's type in 91.4 and see what happens. So we see that it shifted the wrong way, so it's probably 91.6. We're almost there. 91.65 for source tempo will probably get our perfect loop. Alright, cool. So with the loop set, everything at this point on will be aesthetic. So let's throw on some audio effects to see what we can come up with. And the first thing that comes to mind is to throw on a low pass filter. So let's just grab Maschine stock filter and see what that sounds like. Let's bring the project tempo down just a bit. Alright guys, so that was easy enough. But honestly, the most difficult part in that is finding that perfect sample with that perfect loop to carry your beat. Producers and beat makers such as Alchemist and Madlib have made a career using this technique. Down in the comments, let me know if there's any artists or groups that you can actually hear on this beat. So with that beat, the focus was solely on the sample and the loop. Let's jump back into Maschine and manually chop another sample. Let's give this second sample a quick listen. So all I'm going to do is duplicate the sample throughout the different pads and adjust the start points to trigger different sections of the sample. And those are pretty much my main chops. And with that main section set, I'm just going to listen through the rest of the song and see if there's any other sections I can sample. And I want to see if I can get a vocal phrase from the song to finish off my chops.
One of these old days, yeah. One of these old days, yeah. One of these old days, old days.
Alright, cool. So with all of our chops set, let's go ahead and record our sequence.
One of these old days, yeah. One of these old days.
Now with that beat chopped up and sequenced, let's take what we learned in the previous video and add some drums to finish off this beat. Alright, so it's been a while since I've used crate cuts. Let's open up the expansion pack and see what kind of drums we can find. Those sound good to me. Let's go ahead and record some drums.
One of these old days, one of these old days, it'll all be over.
Alright, and everything after this point is mixing and aesthetic. Mixing we'll save for another video. For now, let's just throw on that low pass filter. Lastly, let's throw on a quick compressor to glue everything together and to get those drums to give us that good boom bap sound. Alright guys, so that was 2 samples, 2 beats made 2 very different ways inside of Maschine. The next video we're going to focus on non-sampled boom bap beats, so make sure to hit that subscribe button to get notified as to when that video comes out. And with that said, hit that thumbs up button if you haven't already, and happy beat making. Peace.